We talk about this as Huskies, and why even in our materials, we talk about blazing the trail and doing things like that. We also know you've got great choices here in Northern Virginia. We've got public school, great public school system. We've got other independent schools. Our job today is to show you some of the real benefits of Flint Hill and what this great school, I think, has to offer, particularly at this upper school level, getting ready for that launch off into colleges and to life, because I will tell you, we're playing for the long game. We do have through lines that come through our whole school, and clearly they extend all the way through the upper school. And, it's our technology, it's building relationships, it's being Huskies and being part of a team and never being alone, knowing that someone always has your back. But it's also core values. And I want to show you, I've got a brief slideshow. I want to show you about our core values, and I'm going to talk through it a little bit, but let me try and share it. So to make sure you're looking at that, I'm going to turn off my camera and then go to sharing it. And so, Jennifer, help me make sure I get this.
Absolutely.
Shared.
All right, it looks like your screen's showing now, and now it's full screen. Perfect, John.
Okay, yep. Great. Thank you. Part of the idea is to really follow that idea that we're blazing a trail, that we are Huskies and that we're doing that. And a lot of that comes from, as a school, trying to make sure we are always very intentional, deliberate, strategic, and obviously in today's world, very safe about what we're doing. And as I said, we are playing for the long game. It's not just getting them ready for next week or the next grade or even into college. We're playing for what kind of people will they be when they're 35? Do they have a work ethic? Do they have that great confidence and humble competence in everything they do? Because we think we can be a big part of that and launching them into being incredibly productive adults, scholars, whatever they may ultimately become. One of the things, as you hear about the upper school, as you hear from students, parents, as you hear from Don and Debbie in a few minutes, we're very entrepreneurial. We are constantly looking to how to get better and better at what we do. I think everything we offer is clearly college level. I mean, I jokingly went to the board a number of years ago to see if we could give a bachelor's degree along with our diploma, because our kids have learned so much that is relevant and dynamic in what they're doing. But I will tell you, it's also very personal and meaningful. And a lot of that is trying to ignite within the kids a passion for learning. And passion is much more important to us than pressure. There's some schools you can visit that may have great reputations, but in 5 minutes that they're a pressure cooker. We're not. We're all about process. We're all about getting the kids to learn how to learn, getting excited about what they're learning, but then also being active participants in that process. Because part of that is we are student-centered. I've been at a number of great schools in my career, and I've been here at Flint Hill for 17 years. This school is student-directed. When I say student-centered, they're in the meeting we don't have, or we don't end up with, well, what's really in the kids' best interest in this situation? That is our guiding light. And so one of them is making sure they have a sense of core values. Now, I will tell you, we used to have 4 key core values: honesty, respect, responsibility, and compassion. We loved them. We all talked about them from lower, middle, and upper school. But I will tell you, we did a process a few years ago, and one of the things that came out is this is a school that is action-oriented. And by being entrepreneurial, we're constantly talking about momentum. How do we keep moving? How do we learn more? How do we get the kids more engaged? And we realized, though, that our core values were very static. So we ultimately made the decision to make our core values a bit more action-oriented, a bit more engaging. And so we have been working on that, and this is what we came up with. We, in fact, went from the 4 values to the 5 values, and I think they have served us well. Many of us as adults, myself included, have now adopted these 5 values as kind of part of how we look at life and what we do. So let me walk us quickly through these so you get an idea, because we really do try and live them. They aren't just words to memorize and to know and to regurgitate. It is clearly, how do we interact with the world around us? Obviously, the idea of respecting and valuing all equally is critically important. because who you are informs what you do, how you act, how you interact with other people. And in today's world, this one in particular is critically important. I mean, when you come into our building, you'll see the flags hanging on the wall. And they represent not just the countries around the world or nationalities that may have, it's our school family. We have over 115 nationalities in our school family. That's a quiet gift we give our kids going to school here. Because when they go visit a new friend they've made or whatever, and they go to their home, they may hear other languages being spoken. They may find out they celebrate different holidays and special events and whatever it is. To me, that is incredibly exciting to have that opportunity. That it has to do with religion, it has to do with race, it has to do with learning styles, being a co-ed school. You go down the list, but it's all about how do you respect and value all equally. Then clearly the idea of lead and support with compassion. That's where that sense of being passionate about learning, not about pressure. This is a school that welcomes new children to join us. Even though some students, by the time, let's say ninth grade, they may have been here a number of years, they love the fact that new students join us in ninth grade. And that changes the complexion of their class and all that. That's something we value because ultimately it's about empathy and compassion that makes this the kind of world we all want to live in. It also gives us a chance to have students leading. We have various leadership opportunities, lots of ways to reach out to others, whether being admission ambassadors and leading tours, whether it's trying to help lead in various programs that we do. We did a community service program a little while ago that students really helped organize called Food for Others. It was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. We ended up donating over 1,000 meals, over almost 3,000 pounds of food to a charity, but it was all organized by students who have that drive in them to do for others. The idea of acting with integrity is critically important. When my wife and I were raising our 3 boys, the idea of honesty was really the dominant thing we really pushed. And that idea is not just, no, okay, I want you to be honest, tell me the truth. It is, how do you always act with integrity? How do we make sure that you always will lead with that sense? And ultimately, integrity comes down to the idea of trust. And clearly, it's been important to us, particularly over this COVID period of time. We're almost at the 2-year mark come March for all of us in this world. And we learned early on in this thing that there are 3 really important things you have to do when you're working with parents, and particularly when you're partnering with parents and with students. It's communicate, communicate, communicate. And in fact, we made sure we were able to open in the fall of 20. We were the only school in Northern Virginia that opened JK to 12 live on campus. We did have some families who chose a virtual option we had then, but the whole idea was to get us on campus because we also know about the social emotional learning and how important that is. But it's by constantly talking with each other, listening, reflecting, and then ultimately making what we think are sound decisions for our students and for their safety, for the students and the faculty. The idea of imagining what's possible, this is where the word responsibility evolved into. Imagine what's possible. Don't be stuck with the status quo. How do we get our kids to look beyond? That's what we did over a decade ago when we started being a one-to-one school and began to build a relationship with Apple. We're the Apple site school for the state of Virginia. Any public or private school that wants to use Apple products, they're advised to come visit Flint Hill. And so pre-COVID, we were constantly giving tours to people from all over the state of Virginia. Even Apple would have us do usually 2 programs every year where we invited people in, even from outside this area, to see what we were doing, to visit classes, for us to talk about our journey with technology as an Apple distinguished school. And to do that, it's what led us to be invited, I think, a number of years ago to be involved in a group called INMAX, which were 15 large, complex schools around the United States, schools in Hawaii, California, Illinois, Florida. And they came to us and asked us to join the group because they'd heard of all the things we were doing. It also led us to build an incredible new middle school building. That whole idea of thinking, what do we need to do? How do we need to do it? And I will tell you that Peterson Middle School building is absolutely incredible. One of the advantages of wearing a mask, since we opened it last year, has been the kids can't see my jaw drop open every time I walk in that building. In our upper school, I will tell you, I was like that when I first came here years ago, because I've never been in a building that has trees growing inside of it, has a garden inside the building, just a wonderful facility from which to learn and to do that. But ultimately, what you're looking at is trying to blaze the trail, having your child begin to find their sense of purpose. I just signed some letters yesterday for a thing called the Governor Schools, which is a program that the state of Virginia does, where rising seniors usually can be in these special summer programs. But it's open to public and private schools. So when a private school can get 1 or 2 kids in, that's a big plus. That's a sign you've really punched through some of that, because they're so competitive. We average 8 kids this summer that have tended to go there. Our athletic program, it's blazing the trail. Those are scholar athletes, though, who are on our very competitive athletics. Our arts, very, very involved in that. We've got art institutes that come and look at our kids' portfolios right here and everything. The same with college counseling at the end. I mean, we've got all of our college counselors are from the college ranks. They are people who have been here, worked here, have worked at colleges, who are really making a difference in our seniors' lives, getting ready for that pace. And I'll mention robotics, just because I think that's one of the programs I love, going into that lab where they're working on stuff. You know, we do a Cyber Patriot program in the fall. We're in a robotics in the winter, but the one I love is a spring program. It's called the Student Unmanned Aerial Competition. We've been invited to it almost now for a decade, though the last few years we haven't been able to compete because of COVID. They haven't had the competition. But the last time we competed, 75 schools around the world were invited. 71 of them were colleges and universities, their engineering departments. Only 4 high schools in the world were invited, and we were invited. They had to build a drone. They had to build a rover craft attached underneath it, and was going to have to be dropped to the earth at some point. It had to go up 750 feet that made it invisible to the human eye. Had to go over 5 miles. It had to avoid obstacles. It had all of this, and they had to do their entire run in under 30 minutes. And when we competed, when it was done, a Canadian university out of Quebec had won it. For the second year in a row, Flint Hill came in second. Behind us on the list of schools were Harvard, Stanford University, UCLA, University of Maryland, U.S. Naval Academy, Embry-Riddle University, Cornell. You go down the list of great universities. I will tell you, the first year, the year before that, when we had come in second for the first time, what I really loved was the fact that Virginia Tech had come in second. And, you know, that was wonderful. The 2 Virginia schools were in the top 3. But what I really loved about it was that the 3 leading engineering students on Virginia Tech's team were Flint Hill graduates, that they were there trying to beat their high school and have that happen. So let me go ahead and get out of this, because I have one last stop presenting. And what I would tell you with all of that, the other guiding thing, the other thread we have is a vision for all students. Again, something many of us have picked up ourselves, and it's very simple and very direct. Take meaningful risks, be yourself, and make a difference. And the idea of take meaningful risks, try a subject you haven't tried before, try a language you haven't tried, go out for a sport, run for a student leadership position, audition for the school musical, whatever it is. Take the meaningful risks. You're surrounded by people who love you and care for you. We're going to support you in that. Be yourself, and part of that is finding themselves, and then ultimately make a difference. And that's part of that long game, make a difference as we look to the future. So I was trying to give you a bit overview of our culture, who we are as a school, what's the foundation of Flint Hill, and I think what has us in, I think, a very unique position, because it is all about the students and the benefits they get from being in an environment like this with the people. And some of those people you're going to meet in just a minute. And the key one is Don Page. Don is our director of the upper school. He joined us this year, has just done a phenomenal job with the students, getting to know them well, working with our faculty, and clearly communicating with our parents and putting their minds at ease during what is obviously a challenging time for all of us in the world, dealing with COVID and yet still trying to maintain an educational journey, because the time doesn't slow down for any of us. So Don, I'm going to flip it to you now and let you pick up the through line from there.
Thank you, John. John walked you through a lot of our core values, our mission, our vision, but it's not enough just to make these statements. We have to be really judicious and thoughtful about how we put in place a plan that can engender and nurture this culture. And that's why when we start our school year, we have an extended orientation with multiple segments that are held in either advisory, class meetings, or school-wide meetings. If you were to walk on campus during orientation week, during your child's first week, this year you would have seen a multitude of activities ranging from the pragmatic mundane to the socially complicated gathering. You would have seen advisors going over the student's schedule with them, making sure they understand where they're going and when they need to be there. You would have seen sessions on the drop ad period, key behavioral expectations, textbook usage, all of those things. But you'd see those at most any school. What makes Flint Hill unique are the deeper activities utilized to build community among the students that are both new students and returning students. We know that the field games that the juniors and sophomores played together on the field are going to yield better conversations between them in the hallways, or in classes like mine, Introduction to Economics, where I have juniors and I have sophomores in that same room. We know that when the athletic council sits each grade down in the gym to go over key Husky cheers, it's going to result in more students being a part of the student section community where so much bonding happens, like it did at homecoming this year. And when we match up seniors with freshmen during the week and we have them play games together that seem as silly as Pictionary, we're beginning the process of turning the seniors into the mentors, the leaders of the campus. The seminal moment of the week is when every student and faculty and staff member signs our core values board, which is then put in the main hallway of the upper school building. These roughly 700 signatures serve as a daily reminder of the pledge that we have to each other in the classroom, on the field, and out in the community. There are times I ask a student about something, and when we talk about it, I point at that board and say, this is what we've committed to. We choose to be here, and this is the culture we choose to have. The result of all this intentional and strategic work is the supportive community you're going to notice when and if you get to step on campus. This supportive community goes just beyond creating a safe place for students to learn, but allows students to think about taking meaningful risks, knowing that we learn through failing and we grow through experimenting. There's been multiple times this year I've said to a faculty member, I've said to a student, let's try it. If it fails, it fails, but at least we'll know, let's go for it. It's really hard to blaze your own trail and imagine what if in a community that doesn't support these risks and innovations. It can be as simple as the experience of my own daughter, who as an 8th grader tried volleyball for the very first time. And this was a child that once told me, Dad, I don't do sports where balls fly fast around the room at me. But from the moment she stepped on the court, she was surrounded by players and coaches who cared far more she was trying something new than they cared about her immediately being able to spike a ball. This nurturing and support stays with them throughout their time at Flint Hill and is capped off by their senior project, where students pick an important topic to explore in great depth for about 50 to 60 hours. Before we graduate them off in the world, we send them out on a mini exploration to pursue something they deeply care about. One of the seniors that I'm sponsoring loves rebuilding cars and is going to work to understand how that works with a local car rebuilding place. And it turned out we both rebuilt the same year Datsun in 1979. And so I'm sponsoring him as we go through this because it's his passion. He wants to go do it. Right? And so it's this ultimate moment of blazing their own trail as we build them. And then as seniors, we one more time in a kind of guided, safe place, we help them blaze a trail before we release them into the world. I will say my daughter for the holidays asked for her gift to be, she wants to be in a volleyball club. And then my family calendar, I just saw it get updated. And so those are the moments that make us realize what it matters to try and blaze things. But before we can get your children to that point, we need to discuss our deep, broad, and rich curriculum. To go through the major points of that curriculum, we have with us today Debbie Ayers, who's the Assistant Director of the Upper School and the Upper School Academic Dean. So I'm going to turn it over to Debbie to talk more about that.
Thank you, Don, and good morning, everybody. I'm excited to take a few minutes to talk to you about our wonderful academic program at Flint Hill. My role as the Assistant Upper School Director and Academic Dean allows me to interface both with teachers who are working every day to produce and deliver a quality education to our students, and then also with our families as they are selecting from a vast menu of course options over the 4 years in high school. We have a program based on 8 academic departments. These departments are English, history, social science, math, science, modern language, classics, innovation, and fine arts. And within each of these programs, students will have a progression of courses. Students who come in as freshmen will be taking several foundational courses that help prepare them for higher level courses later on, but they still have an opportunity to take an elective, to choose a fine art, to choose an innovation course, and all of this is with the goal of personalizing an education. We know that our students bring a passion for particular areas, but they bring a vast array of skill sets too. So in our interactions with them as they're selecting courses, we really want to get to know them. That is the important piece in course selection, is knowing where the students are and their skills progression and helping select the next step in their journey so they feel confident, they feel prepared, and it's college preparatory work. So each year, about this time, teachers will start talking to students about the next step in a progression. For students that join us, we're getting that information from their application materials, their transcripts, but also interacting with you through the process. So we select courses with you, not necessarily for you all the time. And I think that is one of the added benefits of being at Flint Hill. I am also a faculty parent. My children graduated in 2010 and 2012. And it's one of the things that I really appreciated was being able to interact, have conversations, to talk about pros and cons of certain classes, but more than anything, to talk about the appropriate balance. It's so easy when you have great options to want to take them all, and our students can easily overload and then miss the enjoyment of the class if it's too much. So that is a key part of academic advising, is to really look at this particular moment in their academic journey, what's the best fit? What's the best arrangement of courses? And if there's something you can't fit in your schedule in 1 year, when can it be added in a subsequent year? So those conversations are really helpful. They're very rich. We began having them, like I said, in the winter semester. It goes all the way through spring until they receive their course list for the upcoming school year in the summer. But even then, we're still making adjustments to make this the best fit, a student-centered education for our students, and to also make sure that we keep the families informed along the way of their steps in the skills progression. So that's just a snippet. I see that I am about out of time. I know you would love to hear from some of our parents and students, and I want to turn the mic over to an admission officer who can get that panel started for you. Justin Fitzgerald, thank you so much, everyone. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, and thank you, Debbie, and good afternoon, everyone. As Debbie just indicated, we are going to go ahead and turn over the event at this time to our parent and student panel. And if I could have both parents and all students go ahead and turn your cameras on, mics on, and start out by introducing yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sibel Ansel. I have a senior this year, and I have been at Flint Hill for 13 years. I'm also the Parents Association president. Maria?
Hi, I'm Maria DeColius. We are new to Flint Hill this year, and my son started in the 9th grade. Thank you.
Gideon, do you want to go ahead? Next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gideon. I'm a 11th grader, and I've been doing this this is my first year as a student ambassador. It's been great so far, and I'm glad to be talking with all of you today.
All right, Caroline.
Hi, my name is Caroline, and I am a junior at Flint Hill as well. I've been at Flint Hill since 8th grade, and same as Gideon, it's great to be here and see everyone.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Blazejowski, you're up.
I'm Mark. I'm a junior at Flint Hill. I joined in 9th grade, and yeah, great to see you all.
Okay, so as Jennifer mentioned at the beginning of the event, if you have any questions at this time for our panel, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask. You're also welcome to put your question in the chat. But to get us started off, why don't we, it doesn't have to be everyone, but why don't we start out with talking about transition to upper school, what that looks like from an academic perspective, extracurricular, and socially, and go from there.
Well, I thought the transition coming from the middle school to the upper school, I thought it was great. It was nice meeting students that came from other middle schools and getting closer with other kids from the middle school at Flint Hill. I felt like it was nice because we all kind of grew together since we were all part of the same freshman class. And it was just, I thought it was a really good community to kind of grow in. And I thought the classes, they challenge you, but in a good way. As long as you stay on top of work, it's great.
Yeah, so my transition was pretty smooth. I came from a different school outside of Flint Hill, a different middle school. And it was a private small school, so it was a very smooth transition, and it felt like I was at home with the new like students and the new environment. I fit in pretty quickly with advisory. It helped me to meet new people and get used to it socially. And through baseball, I did baseball activities on campus over the summer before freshman year, and that helped me to meet new people as well and fit in. And academically, I'd say it was a jump for sure, but with all the help that you can get through office hours and from your teachers and just managing your time well, it was pretty smooth for me.
Yeah, I came in 9th grade and I was at a different middle school, and I think the transition was very smooth, like Mark was saying. Like when we just got here, we had like orientation and we had a bunch of activities, icebreakers, all these great things that we had to like get to know new people. And I did a sport in 9th grade, and I was able to meet a lot of people through that. We had like summer work. We had like 2 days. You got to meet everyone. So that's a great way to get to know people so that the first day you know a few people you can talk to and just hang out with and get comfortable with the community. And I feel that like the homework load is often a big concern for some students going into high school. And it does increase, but I think it was like gradually like given to us as we came into high school. So I think that was good.
Maybe I can add something here. The transition, I thought, for the new students, as other students have already mentioned before, is quite nurturing, I would say, with the advisory program. The children are really there together in a smaller group, even though the grade might be larger than what a child may be accustomed to if they're coming from somewhere else. And something which may have been just coincidence because of COVID, but the staying in the classroom with where you are at a certain time for lunch has alleviated, I believe, a lot of stress for the new students because they're in a smaller group where they eat lunch and they're not searching for people. And I think what a nice coincidence to create a smaller environment for the children during the transition. And I would say, like Gideon was saying about the balance of the homework, being able to do the sports, as Mark was saying, and also the enormous number of clubs that the kids can participate in, another way for them to get to meet other students.
Justin, we have a question in the chat that I think we can cover now. Gideon, did you, or any, Caroline or Mark, did you come from a public school? And if so, public middle school, and if so, you know, how was that transition coming from a public school versus a smaller independent school?
So I can't speak to transitioning from a public middle school to high school, but I was part of a public middle school in 7th grade. So I did transition from 7th grade to 8th grade. And I'd say that I thought it was a very smooth transition. I thought, especially advisory. I know for the first couple of weeks of the school year, we did eat lunch in advisory, and I think it's similar to that at the high school. And I just thought it was a really easy transition. The teachers, you know, you walk through the hallway and they all greet you. And it was just a really good experience for me. I felt like it was a true community, which was really great.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. We have another question in the chat regarding, do you have advice for someone that is considering entering Flint Hill in 10th grade? And I know that none of you, did that, but I think you have many friends that made that transition in 10th grade. So I guess just speak from that perspective.
Yeah, I think I have a few friends who transitioned in through 10th grade from Middleburg, who went to my old middle school. So I already knew them when they were transferring. I think one way to get to know people when you're transitioning in 10th grade rather than in 9th grade is to meet people through advisory and through your classes first. And I think it's really easy to get to know people overall at Flint Hill. I think we're all like one big community and we're all welcoming. So I don't think it's too difficult it's not too different from transferring in 9th grade than from 10th grade, because going into 9th grade, I didn't know many people either. So it just, I think everyone just gets to know each other and everyone fits in.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And maybe Sibel or Maria, you could, I guess, give a little bit of insight, not necessarily from a student perspective, but, overall, transition of, parents into the upper school and, the activities that are available to them and getting involved. What does that look like?
I think the most important thing about being a parent at Flint Hill is getting involved. I met Maria, who started this year. Her son started this year at our tennis social in the fall. She signed up. She came on over, introduced herself. Her son had started a week before or the day before or just recently. And she has been all in ever since. And I think that is so important at a place like Flint Hill. We are a family. And I think that transitioning is just made easier if you get to know someone. And I think that Maria has shown that. And so that would be my advice. Maria?
Yes, I mean, the opportunities for parents to become involved. I mean, immediately there was this, as Sibel was saying, this tennis social. Well, I thought, well, okay, I'll sign right up. And then from there, said, oh, well, they are having the meal preparation. John mentioned that. The kids and then the parents were able to come in also to help put some meals together. That was another great opportunity. And I even though I was never done it before, also volunteered for the snack bar. And if you can do the snack bar, you can go and do anything in the school. There's all these kids coming and they all want the same thing at the same time. And it is a great way to meet the kids and a great way to meet other parents. So that transition, I thought, for me, has been really welcoming by everybody. And I would say that the students also come up to you and say, oh, you know, which class is your child in? I appeared at school one day and a number of kids came up to me. I was very impressed by the students and how confident they were in discussing the school with me as well.
Thank you, Maria. We also have a great question in the chat regarding a student who has interests in both sports, but also the theater, and how you can strike a balance and participate in both. So certainly would love to hear from the students and parents as well on this.
I'm not in theater or sports currently, but I have friends that are, and I know that what they do when they're like worried about assignments or projects, they utilize their office hours. And I know office hours is like one of the biggest tools for a lot of students. Like we have a 30-minute period, I'm pretty sure, at the end of the day, and that can't be touched by any other events or anything going on. You just meet with your teacher, and once it's done, you can go to your sports or theater or any other activities you have at the end of the day, and you can do your homework and other projects and ask your teacher for help if you need it.
I got something to add. Because I don't do theater, but I do play trumpet with the band. So that's an outside of school commitment for concerts. I'm not sure. I think theater's a outside of school commitment. So for sports and theater, trying to balance that commitment outside of school, coaches are normally very flexible, and you just let your coach know that I'll have like another commitment, and they'll be okay with that, and they'll be accepting for that. So I think you can balance what you want to do outside of school, and everyone is accepting that there are other commitments that you might have. Because for me, I've had to miss a baseball game for like a concert. So I just let my coach know, and he was like, yeah, that's great, because the coaches are understanding.
Okay, thank you. And to some degree along those same lines, I know all of you have participated in after school activities and athletics at Flint Hill. We have a question in the chat. Are there tryouts for sports teams? Could you talk a little bit about that process from everyone's perspectives?
So there are tryouts for different levels of the teams. I personally play tennis and lacrosse, and it's always been really good. It's been a good experience when trying out for certain teams. I would say freshman year, it was what allowed me to meet most of my friends going into the school year, because tryouts started during the summer. And so then a couple weeks in, when you make either JV or varsity or the freshman team, everybody's very excited no matter where they end up on the team. It's just a good experience, I would say.
Gideon or Mark?
I did football in 9th grade, and there weren't any tryouts for that. But I know there are some sports like basketball. I'm pretty sure the girls and boys have tryouts, and it's to see whether you're in varsity, junior varsity, or the freshman team.
Yeah, I did try out for basketball for fun in freshman year. And there were a lot of people trying out. So I think they did make a few cuts, but that's just for more of our popular sports. For baseball, there were no cuts made, and the tryouts were for whether you were on JV, varsity, or swing. Some people played swing. Even though we didn't have a season freshman year, a few of us would have been on swing, and because we have to fill spots on both teams, and we have to have people for that. But overall, it was a good experience, I'd say.
Okay, thank you, parents.
I think, Justin, there's a question about, are all grades allowed to be on JV or varsity? And yes, from what I've seen so far, there's quite a number of freshmen who are on varsity. And so I don't think there's any restriction.
No, Maria, you are correct. There are no restrictions in terms of the tryout process as far as who can try out for JV and varsity. So that, as you indicated, there are certainly quite a few ninth graders that have made varsity teams. The second part of that question also references preseason workouts. I know it's different for each sport here at Flint Hill, and I would say, to me, one of the best parts about student life here at Flint Hill is that students are able to do so many different activities. But if any of the students could talk a little bit about maybe some preseason activity that they have gone through with the sports that they've played.
So I remember freshman year in particular, it was very exciting for me for both tennis and lacrosse to be a part of like a preseason activity, because as I said before, it really helped me branch out and meet a lot of new people that I don't think I would have met otherwise, and I became very close with. Tennis was, I believe, for the first 1 or 2 weeks before the school year started. And it was great. We met, I think, in the morning, and we practiced and just kind of got to know each other, did different activities. And then later in the winter, for conditioning for the lacrosse season, that was another really good experience, I would say, because we just kind of met and did workouts and practiced different like techniques and things like that. And it was great. It was like a way to ease into the season, and I thought it was like a really good transition.
Thank you.
I can speak for probably most of the boys' sports. In general, I think sports will do preseason weightlifting in the weight room. I definitely did that for baseball, and also conditioning is another big thing that I would do. During my freshman year, we started preseason workouts over the summer, like 1 or 2 weeks before, like Caroline said, and we went on the field early in the morning and practiced, and it was a lot of fun meeting new people and getting to know my teammates. And then during the fall, we did weightlifting, and winter we did weightlifting too. So that was just a great way to get prepared for the season and get stronger and have fun with my teammates.
Thank you, Mark. So let's switch over to academics and talk a little bit about AP classes that you might be taking at this time, and also from certainly the parent perspective. What are some of the AP classes that you're taking, and what is part of that process? Sibel, do you want to jump in here?
Oh, all right, I will. APs at Flint Hill are great, and how the process works is freshman year, unless you're in a math or really a math AP, you don't have them. You can take honors classes, and then starting in sophomore year, there is offered history AP. You could be in a language AP if you're already that far. I think they've been great. My son has taken a lot of APs, and I think the biggest judge of how well you do an AP is the exam, and I think Flint Hill kids do very well on the AP exams. But we offer, I don't know if Debbie's still here, but we offer a huge variety of AP. This year mine is taking Latin AP, he's taking Spanish AP, history, US history, government. I mean, so it's really a great 26, Lauren says, so 26 AP. So you can have a wide variety of that. But the honors courses are great too. I don't think that we ever pressure our kids to be kind of an AP factory. I think that it's a fantastic program.
Thank you, Sibel. Anyone else want to mention anything about their experience?
Maybe I could just jump in about the honors. I think there's a number of honors classes and the breadth of classes, so that if you want to continue on and focus on math, you really can go to a very high level, or branch out and do something in the classics, and do something with robotics. I love that there is both the classics and the innovative, and you can combine, and your child can explore and decide where, if they want to focus and be able to pursue something really at an advanced level. It's really remarkable, having been in this area for most of my life. I'm more and more impressed with the breadth of the academic options.
Thank you, Maria. Okay. Why don't we touch briefly upon the college counseling process?
That's me. So I have a son who just completed the college process at Flint Hill, and I will tell you all that I couldn't be more impressed. You know, we did not go outside the school. It was all within Flint Hill. They really started 9th grade advising on the classes that you should take, that you will need to take, but without it being a pressure, that you're thinking, you're enjoying high school rather than focusing on what's going to happen after college, after high school. And so junior year, you really get started, and they give you a list of schools based on your interests, based on your grades, based on the part of the country you want to go to. And then as a family, you look into those schools, and then they really help you all along the way in applying to the different universities that you would like to go to. And, you know, they're very honest about where they think that it's going to be a right fit for you. And I know that most families have successful results, which means they have happy children after they graduate, which I think is the most important part.
Thank you, Sibel. Students, anything to add here?
So I think we've had a couple college counseling seminars over the course of the year. And I would say really the most important thing and really the best thing about them is the seminar, they all focus on like you as an individual, like where you should go, not about what your peers are doing. And it's just nice because it's very individualized in the sense that like you can use your interests and figure out where you'd want to go based on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to Caroline, like the college counseling seminars that we have are very helpful. They give you information on like GPAs that schools like, how it's like more about your personality, what could get you into certain schools. And we take like a lot of surveys that give you more information on how the process works. And later on, we're going to have like a more personalized like part of the program with our own college counselor, because right now we're just doing seminars, but later on we're going to get deeper into what colleges we want to look at.
Justin, do you mind me jumping in for a second?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Sophie, I see your question about, would you please address if there is a Flint Hill summer program where students can work on earning credits over the summer as to provide themselves with schedule openings or opportunities during the school year? Great question. So I'm linking a site you can go to from our Flint Hill website regarding summer programs. Now, this was from last year, so don't try to register for anything because it's 2021. But that page should be updated soon. But you can see we do offer a wide variety of opportunities over the summer. Most of them, or a lot of them, are enrichment based. So you'll see like ceramics, robotics. We encourage students to sign up for those to kind of foster those passions. But there also are some opportunities to get credit. So most of those are in our math department. So you can see, geometry, pre-calc, and I believe algebra 2 and trig were offered. Most of them were done virtually last summer. We'll see, fingers crossed, they came back in person this summer, and they're all taught by Flint Hill faculty. Okay.
Thank you, Lauren. And a question that's, it's certainly relevant today is, regarding, the environment that we're living in with COVID. So students, could you talk a little bit about what your experience has been like in the last, year and a half to 2 years, and, maybe it could be even some of the challenges that you faced, but, how you feel, things have gone for you, associated with your experience at Flint Hill and your schoolwork and all the other components of your day-to-day life.
I think the transition to virtual school was really good last year, and the school has given us a lot of guidance and help as to what we should do with the pandemic. And when we are in school, we have to have our masks on. We do testing if anybody feels sick, and if anybody does have any symptoms, they are sent home, so there's no chance of anything spreading. And we do have a tracing app as well to make sure that anybody that has been in contact with someone who might have the virus is sent home to quarantine and recover so they can get back to school. But right now we are virtual and everything is going smoothly. We have classes on Google Meet and it goes perfectly for me. And I know it goes well for a lot of my friends, and teachers are able to do every lesson that they would in person. And we have our Macs, so we get to do everything on Google Classroom and do all our assignments and projects.
Mark?
I think one of the main struggles for me was when we were full virtual, staring at a computer screen all day was pretty tough, to be completely honest. But the school relaxed the schedule, so we had slightly less classes, but they were all working to make a better environment with what we could work with, and I think it definitely worked for me. After a while, after I got used to being online, we were hybrid last year, so 2 days in person, 2 days online. So that was definitely a challenge, learning how to learn outside and in class. It was definitely a struggle, but we got used to it, and now I think it's a lot better because we're not doing hybrid anymore. So classes with juniors and sophomores had half the class in person and half the class online. But that's not what it is anymore. Right now, I think we're all getting back in the school building, and we're all working together to create a better environment. And I think it's great, great transition.
Caroline?
I would agree with what both Gideon and Mark were saying. I think Flint Hill's been doing a great job with given the situation that we are all in right now. I think they've been doing a great job with giving students opportunities to have a screen break, or I feel like teachers are very understanding as well, that sometimes a virtual setting is more difficult just in general for students to work with, as you are just kind of staring into a screen. But I think the teachers are really there for you, and there's plenty of opportunities to still be able to ask questions, like the office hours time, for example. You can go and you can ask teachers things just as you would when you were in person. And I think with being in person, it's been great. I think the school's been doing a good job with, everybody has their masks on. We have testing. We were able to have sports, which was amazing, because it's just nice, like, to be able to see everyone and participate in things that give you joy and make you happy.
Thank you, Caroline. How, from the parent perspective, Maria or Sibel?
I think the social part is hard. I think that over the last 2 years, I guess it's almost been 2 years now, which is unbelievable. That part has been hard. I think that Flint Hill has done the best that they can, but I think even for all of us, it's been hard. I think for parents, meeting, it was so great to have the start of this year that we could meet new parents, but we're kind of working backwards a little bit on people that started in the last year and a half, because we want them to feel part of this community too. So I think that's the biggest struggle.
Okay.
I also see that, so Armahan asked a question about the college counseling, and Lauren answered how many students. The amount of time, so this is where it is very personalized. My son probably spent 3 hours a week with his college counselor. There is a college counseling office, and they can stop by during their office hours and after school. They also are ready, to email, but it's really come as you are, come when you want office. And so it depends on the child, really, how much help they need, how much advice they want, how close they feel to their college counselor. But for mine, it was great. He got to ask every question he wanted to.
Thank you, Sibel. So at this time, if there aren't any other questions, I don't see any new questions in the chat. And thank you very much, panelists, for your time today. You did an excellent job. I'm going to go ahead and turn the event over to my colleague, Lauren South, and she's going to talk to you about the next steps in the admission process.
Thank you so much, Justin, and thank you again to our panelists. We appreciate your time and energy and positivity and talking about your experiences at Flint Hill. All right, I'm going to share my screen. If someone could just let me know when they see it.
We can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I know some of you may be kind of deep into the admission process, so you're welcome to leave at this time. We won't be offended if you've kind of heard this overview or already connected with an admission officer. And again, thank you so much for your time today. And for those of you who haven't, had this kind of overview yet, this will be brief and just kind of we'll talk about next steps and the actions that you should take towards a partnership with us at Flint Hill. All right. So what does the admission process look like? So it truly is a partnership, and that starts in the admission process. So, we really want to ensure that, we're comfortable, you're comfortable, we understand each other and what your student needs to succeed, what we can offer them, and then ultimately make that decision together as to whether or not we are a fit. Okay, and that partnership, of course, just continues on, once you enroll at Flint Hill with our faculty and our administration. And in terms of, your first steps, we always start with the application form. So that is submitted through our community portal called the Husky Hub. As John mentioned, the Husky is our mascot, so a little play on words there. But that is a system that you will use for the admission process, and also if you were to enroll as current parents. So there's a link to our application right there. It takes about 15 minutes to complete, really just contact information. So we encourage you to get that in as soon as possible. In terms of our supporting materials that we require, of course, official transcripts and progress reports from your students' current school. We typically ask for the previous year, so the full year transcript, and then whatever they have up until this point. So whether that's first quarter grades or first semester, and we'll of course, require a final transcript at the end of the year if they do enroll. 2 recommendations is what we require from teachers, one from a math teacher, one from an English teacher. So this is all, again, through our Husky Hub system. You can just input their email address and their name, and they will get a notification from us with a link to the form that they submit. It is a quick form. It's not a formal letter. And then when that is submitted back to us, you will see a check mark by that requirement. Questionnaires, so one for the candidate, for the student, and then one for the parent. So just a few short answer questions. These can be done in your own time. Again, you will see a link for the questionnaires in the checklist of your student's application on the Husky Hub. A graded writing sample, so we really want to see your students, a sample of their writing, so preferably from an English or history class, and then how they were evaluated. So some evaluative component, it doesn't necessarily have to be a letter grade, it could be a rubric that's attached with some comments, whatever really works. I know it can be more difficult in this digital age, but some evaluative component on a piece of their writing. We have moved to an SSAT, standardized testing optional, and that really just means that the majority of our applicants have demonstrated their preparedness to Flint Hill through the other requirements, right? So through transcripts, recommendation forms, and interview, and we really don't, feel that it is necessary for them to submit their standardized test scores if they have taken one. Now, of course, if your child has taken those tests and want to submit their scores, we will absolutely include them in the process and evaluation, add them to their file. If they have taken the test and don't want to submit them, that's fine as well. It is truly optional, and it's not going to impact their file either way. If we have a student who maybe we want to inquire to see if they have taken a test just for more information, we will have that conversation with the family. And finally, we require an interview. So for both students and parents at the upper school, it's scheduled for 1 hour. Usually half the time is spent with the student, half the time with one or both parents or guardians, just to get some greater connection and ask them some questions about their experience. Nothing to prepare for with the interview. It's really just kind of a casual conversation about their educational journey and what they're really looking for in their next school or their high school experience. And those can be done either virtually or in person. All right. So in terms of the timeline, obviously we are into middle January now. So we do ask that if you haven't started the application process, you do so very, very quickly. Our application actually opened back in September. And so really, October, November through February, or January, really, I should say, is when we're gathering, those components to complete the admission file. Okay, so again, I've kind of just walked you through the supplemental materials, and I would say in terms of priorities, always requesting the materials that are kind of out of your control. So the materials from the school, transcript, and recommendations would be the priority. The questionnaires, again, you can complete in your own time. And I would get the interview also scheduled. The officers are quite busy these days, as I'm sure you can imagine. So getting on their calendars is important. And I should also mention there is a link that syncs with their calendars directly in our Husky Hub system to schedule your interview with your assigned officer. All right, and for those interested in applying for financial aid, our financial aid application opened on November 1st. Our deadline for this upcoming school year is actually a week from today, next Friday, the 21st. So for the application form and the supplemental materials and interview. And then the 25th, so the following, is that Tuesday, would be the financial aid deadline. Okay, we are certainly, if you're beginning the process, are willing to be, you know, flexible and work with you as some of these pieces may take a couple extra days to turn in. So just, you know, have that conversation with your assigned admission officer if you're just beginning right now and a little bit worried about the deadline that's creeping up. The reason that we have that deadline is so we can take really the month of February to meet with the admission committee and you know, evaluate applicants and then be able to release decisions to you all on Friday, March 4th. So that is our decision notification day. Decisions are sent out electronically, usually at the end of the school day, so 3 or 4 o'clock. And then families have 2 weeks to make their decision, you know, as to accept our enrollment contract or decline. We also have events the following week after decisions go out to welcome families back onto campus. A revisit day is what we call it, to get those final questions answered, see our facilities, you know, maybe for the second time, maybe for the first time if you haven't made it onto campus yet. So, you know, be keeping those dates in mind as well. And we'll certainly be providing more information as we approach that time. In April, we have placement testing for our upper school students that have newly enrolled. So you heard Debbie talk a little bit about the academic approach that we take, and we have students that will take placement tests, you know, typically in both math and foreign language, unless they're starting a foreign language at level 1. And then they can elect to take them in their humanities if they want to be recommended for honors classes. So that date is in April. We have a welcome celebration also in April, and then an event in May that's called New Family Information Night, where you really get an overview of how to use, you know, the Husky Hub from the current parent perspective, as well as just what to consider over the summer. So what health forms to get from your doctor's office, registering for classes, how to do that, how to go about purchasing textbooks, you know, all of that good stuff. And then we have a few events throughout the summer that are completely optional, not required, fun socials for the students to get them onto our campus. We usually invite some of our current student leaders to meet them and help with that transition and to make them comfortable before school starts, which is the Monday before Labor Day. All right, how do I connect? So I think you have seen all of us on the screen today. So, and you're doing your part in the first bullet point, which is attending an event. So we have some recorded events we'd encourage you all to look at and consider watching on our website as well. We also have an event coming up on January 25th, which is just an opportunity virtually to connect with current middle and upper school parents. So that's going to be at 10 a.m. So look out for an invitation to that event. I'm sure you enjoyed hearing from Sibel and Maria today. So that's more of that, you know, just for a whole hour that morning. So you can, through our website, schedule a 15-minute phone consultation or a virtual meeting, excuse me, with any of us, myself or my colleagues, Justin and Julie. We also encourage you to follow us on social media. We have very active social media accounts, and you can see, I think, a lot of our community there. It really provides you with a great insight as to what's happening at Flint Hill. And of course, our website there is where you can find the links to those meetings. All right. Come back. Okay, and you are welcome. I forgot to mention to sign up for an on-campus tour at this time. So we would love to see you on campus, and our student ambassadors are actually lead those and do a wonderful job, so you get their perspective as well. I want to be mindful of your time. Does anyone have any questions before we end this event for today? All right, no, we must have covered it, team. All right, well, thank you again to everyone. I know it's been an interesting couple weeks to the start of the new year, so we're hoping that things improve, and thank you again for your time, and best wishes to you and your family. Stay healthy and stay in touch with us. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you all for being here today. It was great to see you all online.
Yeah. Thank you all. Hope to see you here.